Hey guys, listen up.
This is the SEC Insider Hit, powered by Miss Kelly Furniture, Mississippi's number one sleep store.
All right, good morning. Welcome in. It's Thursday. It's game day. That's exciting, right? Got some NFL tonight, some college football. You're excited. We're excited. Some of you have junior high football. I know parents are locked into that, as you should be. And but NFL, more NFL tonight. I'm in. And then this weekend, both the Dogs and the Rebs have home games. And they're big. I mean, you know, Mississippi State is a two-possession underdog, but you never know. I give it about a 70-30 LSU. I don't know if it's 80-20, but I'm going to go 70-30 for MSU. And then Ole Miss is a massive 20-point favorite, but you're really not sure what they have. And if they can't run the ball, can Georgia Tech hang around? I'm not sure. They look a little bit better. Don't forget about this with Georgia Tech. Their starting quarterback is Haynes King, transfer from Texas A&M. Highly recruited, played a little bit, but now he's a starter at Georgia Tech. And Georgia Tech's head coach, Brent Key, coached under Saban at Alabama for 3 years as the O-line coach, 16, 17, and 18. So that's what you're looking at in Oxford. Y'all know that Brian Kelly is the head coach at LSU. And LSU has dudes all over the field. Mississippi State will have to play really, really well, make some big plays and all that. So, and we're going to have Show Me the Money tomorrow at 7:45, where I'll pick the games and we'll have fun. And Lee Sterling will stop by, handicapper to the gods, Paramount Sports at 8:15 tomorrow. He won his 45-unit play, and he picked the Miami Hurricanes. So he had a big week last week. So that's exciting. All right, we are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. And we're live in the BankPlus Studio. You can watch the show right now on YouTube. Just search Out of Bounds Sports. We have a special guest who has joined us before, Dr. Graham Calvert with Mississippi Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Center with 2 locations, Flowood and obviously Belhaven and Fortification. Madison, too.
That's right, Madison.
I don't need to forget that.
Right
it's right around the
street.
corner.
That's right.
I've been there. All right. When my son broke his arm, you remember that.
I do remember that.
Yeah.
Yep.
First of all, good morning. How you doing?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Well,
Pumped to be on the show again.
Well, I appreciate you joining us and jumping in. Before we get into why you're here in this amazing charity, I'd like for you to share with our listeners your subspecialty.
Sure. So I'm at Mississippi Sports Medicine. I've been there for now over 10 years. That's hard to believe. But I do necks and backs. So I'm a spine surgeon. So I work on any kind of pathology from your head all the way down. So basically, a lot of times what I see people for, I see people for strains. I see people for pain down their arm, pain down their leg. You could right now I'm seeing a lot of athletes with stress fractures because that's real common with football.
Sure,
kind of an overuse injury. But I see all degenerative stuff. I see adults. I see kids. So bring them on.
Dr. Graham Calvert on the Out of Bounds Show. And then you shadow a high school football team, many of your physicians, PT, so
right. That's
on.
kind of a grassroots kind of community that we do. We always get out. One of our partners or our fellows is always on the sidelines of a high school football game.
Right.
Fortunately, I've got Jackson Prep. That's the school I went to high school to, and so it's close to my heart. And
sure.
So it's really cool to get to cover your alma mater. So I'm with them every Friday night, home on the road. But it's a good time.
Jay Prep last weekend. They may play again. But
right.
That's one of the biggest rivalries in the state of Mississippi.
That was a great game.
Here's the way I frame that up. Obviously, MHSAA public schools have great rivalries, but the difference in a Prep JA rivalry is you could drive down a street and it could be 50% JA, 50% Prep kids, or in the same house, you could have that's one right. go to JA and one go to Prep, and that's just a different deal, different
that's
element.
Right. It's a huge rivalry, and one of the things when I got outside the state and I was living in Alabama. And I would see people when I was in training at UAB, they knew about the Prep JA rivalry, which is wild. They're like, now, which school did you go to? Did you go to the JA or did you go to the Prep?
Right.
But people knew about that rivalry outside of the state. It's a huge high school rivalry. And it's a great game this past week. JA made it interesting there at the end.
I heard that.
Came back, within 4 minutes and made it very close. So it's always good when that game's close. Both those teams make each other better.
MAIS is up for grabs this year with Prep, Jay, Hartfield, and MRA. I can't wait to see what shakes out there. Sure. Dr. Graham Calvert, Mississippi Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Center. All right, Graham, I'm going to let you have the floor for a couple minutes, and then you and I can continue to discuss this awesome organization. Will you tell our listeners what Hunter's Harvest does?
So I'm with the Mississippi Wildlife Federation. I'm on the board this year, and one of the biggest things that we do, our biggest charity, is something called Hunter's Harvest. And Hunter's Harvest is for people who don't desire to keep their venison from the deer that they kill. They can either say, hey, I want to keep 10 pounds and I want to donate 20 pounds to the Hunter's Harvest, or you can drop your entire deer off, skin on, and say, hey, look, I want to donate this deer to the Hunter's Harvest. And what happens is we pay the processor to process that deer. We send them 500 2-pound bags at the beginning of the season. And what they'll do is they'll process that deer, put it in bags, put it in the freezer, and then we have various charities, food banks, Mississippi Food Network that will go around, pick up that venison, and distribute it to families in need. So it's one of the things that food banks miss, and they need more than anything, is protein sources. Quality protein. And venison is a very quality protein. It's a very lean meat. People want to drop off fruits and vegetables and canned goods, and those are great, and they play a part, but they really lack protein sources. And if you think about it, it's wild. Just chew on it for a minute that hunters could provide that protein source if we're just organized about how to get it to them. Because there's many guys who own land and they have does and they have to manage, like this year, I'm probably going to have to kill 10 to 12 does on my property just to kind of manage the herd. But what do you do with those does? I think some hunters would be, embarrassed to tell you that maybe they leave them in the field, or maybe they just take the back straps and don't eat the rest of the deer. But this provides an avenue where that deer can go to feed somebody in need and help a family in Mississippi that's hit on hard times. So it's a great charity. I'm pretty passionate about it. We have a concert coming up September 28th at Dueling Hall.
Nice.
There's a guy named Jamison Rogers. You probably heard of him. He's got songs on the radio. Some Girls. He's got Spotify. Yeah, look him up. He's got songs. You guys would know him. He's from Batesville, Mississippi. I called his manager and I said, look, we need a hometown Mississippi guy to come help us with this concert. And I told him, I had about $5,000 to spend on a band. And his manager said, look, you need an extra zero because it's about 50 to book this guy, 50,000. And I said, well, I don't have that, but run it by him. And they ran it by him, and he said, he got back with me within a few days and said, look, Jameson's excited about doing this. He wants to give back. He wants to help the sportsmen. He's excited about the Hunter's Harvest.
Awesome.
And he wants to come do this concert for pretty much cost. So he's going to come in on the 28th, and he's going to do a concert. You can get a ticket to the concert. It's $100. You can get on our website. You can make a sponsorship. You can get a table and have 10 tickets. There's an option where you can get 20 tickets. So if you get on our website, mswildlife.org, you can purchase tickets to the concert. You can make a donation to Hunter's Harvest. The other way to make a donation is we have a Venmo handle, which is
nice.
MS Wildlife Fed. So MS Wildlife Fed, and that's Venmo. If you just want to make a donation to Hunter's Harvest, the biggest thing is just processing the meat. And everybody's like, well, why don't the processors just do this for free? Well, we're paying them for their time. It takes time to skin a deer. It takes time to process a deer. And a lot of things is we have inflation and there's a lot of overhead, and they have to put this meat in freezers and they have to pay for freezer space. So there's a lot that goes into processing a deer, even for charity, that we're responsible for paying for. But we love doing it. Last year, we got 21,000 pounds of meat that was 85,000 meals. So think about
21,000 pounds of venison.
Chew on this. Tennessee, with their Hunter's Harvest, does 100,000 pounds of meat a year. So I don't think they have better sportsmen than us. I don't think they have better hunters than us in Tennessee. But I'm kind of calling our hunters out across the state. Like, I think we can do better.
Yeah.
I really do. And part of things, people just don't know about this charity. So that's why I appreciate you having me on, so I can kind of get the awareness out there.
Absolutely. Dr. Graham Calvert, Mississippi Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Center. We're talking Hunter's Harvest. Last year, 21,000 pounds of venison donated last year, 85,000 meals. Tennessee does 100,000 pounds. So we're going to close the gap and quick over the next couple of years. Graham Calvert on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. We're talking Hunter's Harvest. Again, if you want to find out more about it, go to mswildlife.org. Now, Graham and the board have also put together an awesome concert at Dueling Hall, which is a great venue. September 28th. Who's the musician again, Graham?
Jameson Rogers.
Jameson, I like that. Sounds like a star.
Yep, for sure.
Jameson Rogers. Now, also, would you share with our listeners, Graham, that they can, because this is pretty cool. This is really an easy, low-hanging fruit deal. Our hunters can earmark it at the processor, right?
That's right. If you drop your deer off and you say, hey, look, this deer, I want this deer given to Hunter's Harvest. We have processors all over the state. And most processors work with us. If you happen to take it to a processor that says they don't work with us, you need to tell them they need to work with us.
Sure.
And say, hey, listen, this is a great organization. It's a great charity. You need to work with these guys. But if you need a list of processors that are part of the Hunter's Harvest, you can get on the MS Wildlife website.
Yes.
And you can look. We have a list of processors that you could take, your deer to, and we've got one in your area. We do need some processors in a few pockets in the state. So, like down around like Lauderdale County area, we need some processors there. North Delta, we're looking for some processors there. There's a couple of pockets where we need some processors. So, you guys can help us out with that as well. You can drop your deer off. You can give money. You can say, hey, earmark my meat for Hunter's Harvest. You can show up to the concert. There's a lot of ways for people to give. You can tell your processor to join us. You know that 800-pound, 14-foot alligator they killed in Yazoo? That 14 pounds, like a record alligator they killed in Yazoo. And they took that to Red Antler. He's one of our processors. That's 800 pounds of meat. And he processed that alligator for the Hunter's Harvest. That's wild.
That's awesome.
So we take alligator meat too.
Heck yeah.
We'll take anything.
I love gator meat. We're visiting with Graham Calvert on the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone ESPN. Jason, what you got, big dog?
Well, two things. So I looked up Jameson Rogers on Spotify. 2.6 million monthly listeners on Spotify alone.
He's a big deal.
He's huge. And also, is this going to extend to duck season or like dove season? I feel like are there other ways that people can donate outside of deer season?
Oh, we take donations year round.
Okay.
And one of the things is we ran out of venison about 6 months after hunting season this year. That 21,000 meat, if you think about it, you go through that meat pretty quickly. So, my goal is to get Hunter's Harvest where it can go season to season. And so we collect enough venison throughout that season that we can get to the next season. But to answer your question, it's a year-long thing. We raise money year-long, throughout the year to try to pay these processes during hunting season to take this meat.
All right, so let's go over this again. Hunter's Harvest, and you can go to mswildlife.org, and 21,000 pounds of venison was donated last year, 85,000 meals for needy families in Mississippi, and they don't have any dependable source of quality protein. That's the game changer here, as Graham was sharing with us. And you can earmark it at your processor, most of them. And if not, say, hey, here's what they're doing, check it out, and they can sign up. And then we've got the big concert September 28th at Dueling Hall, and Jameson Rogers is from Batesville, Mississippi. He's not charging close to what he usually charges to raise money for Hunter's Harvest. And Dueling Hall is a great venue too.
Great venue. And if you just want to show up and pay $100 to get in, we'll sell tickets at the door.
Yeah. So. All right, let's switch gears real quick. And then we'll let you go because you got to make sure that people's backs and spines are good. What's the main fish that you catch down in Orange Beach and Gulf Shores?
I hate to tell you, but Orange Beach, I like to inshore fish. So if I'm inshore fishing, intercoastal, I'm targeting redfish or speckled trout, and I love doing that down there. It's a sandy bottom. It's a little bit different bottom at Orange Beach, and there's a lot of boat traffic, so it's not as great of a fishery as places like Mobile Bay and of course South Mississippi and places like that. But it's still good fishing. You can still get in. There's some good grass flats, and you can catch some speckled trout mainly inshore. But, one of the fun things that Orange Beach is known for is getting offshore and catching snapper during snapper season.
He just went. Jason, didn't you just went offshore 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, actually in Orange Beach.
Oh, really?
We had, it was a huge boat, like 16 people, but we caught like 108 snapper.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's not red snapper season yet, but just
that's right. Y'all were catching beeliners.
Yeah, or vermilion, is that?
Vermilion snapper.
Vermilion, that's what it is. Yeah.
Yep. And so those can go out of normal red snapper season. You can take beeliners, and Some of those beeliners, there's no limit on. So you
Yeah.
can really, and they taste just as good as a red snapper. They look a lot like a red snapper.
He had some. I mean, I brought
I
some
did.
for
He
Bo.
brought me some.
Yeah,
It's
it's
good one.
delicious.
We pansy. Oh man, it was delicious.
Oh, yeah.
It's fantastic.
They call it vermilion snapper. They call it sandwich snapper because it's a little bit smaller.
It is.
One fillet, and everybody makes a sandwich.
Yeah.
And it's delicious.
Ooh,
So
I didn't think
good.
about that. Yeah, we pan-seared it. You got to bring me some more.
I got you.
Okay.
I got we had 20 bags.
I mean, you only gave me 2 fillets.
Exactly. Well, see, also, I didn't want
What
to
the hell?
overload you. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So,
that was it.
yeah, exactly. And then I'll keep it coming now that we've got it separated out.
Yeah, I've been a bachelor all week, Graham. So
That's what I'm hearing.
And I've had steak every night, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night.
Steak
yeah.
and wine. Your wife needs to get back in
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
You got
eager in
LSU
Starkville
coming this
today.
weekend. You're going to be in Starkville.
I need to get it
You'll be
together.
at Restaurant Tyler, I'm sure.
Yes, I will. On Friday, and it was so funny. I had Spotify up at 70 on my TV last night. I'm an empty nester. Wendy's been gone at the beach. It's just me and the dog. He can't hear. He's 16 years old, so it doesn't matter how loud the music is. And I'm like, what's going on here? My life's come full circle. So anyway,
A woman brings a lot of organization to your life.
no doubt. Well, I got to go clean the house
Yep.
before I
You
leave.
better get on that.
For Starkville, make sure that's good to go. Dr. Graham Calvert, thank you, buddy.
Thanks a ton for having me.
Well, I appreciate you coming in. Again, let's do this one more time. Hunter's Harvest, mswildlife.org. The big concert is September 28th at Dueling Hall. Jameson Rogers, 2.6 million listeners on Spotify a month. And they did 21,000 pounds of venison donated last year and 85,000 meals for needy families in Mississippi. And they're going to grow this thing this year.
One last thing, Bo.
Yeah.
I'm giving away a Matthews V3X bow donated by B&B Archery. That's a nice bow.
Nice.
Okay, so we're going to raffle that off. We're raffling off a gun that the Armory has donated.
The Armory's a partner of ours.
Is it? Okay,
like y'all
that's
are.
awesome. Yep, they're partnering with us as well.
Okay.
We've got a lot of great sponsors who are helping us out with this thing. But we are going to have some raffle items to give away, and we're excited about that. So just kind of drive some people to come. But appreciate you having me on, and your listenership, guys. Y'all come support Hunter's Harvest, and I appreciate everything you do. You do all those hunters out there.
Thanks, bud.
All right.
Graham Calvert, Dr. Graham Calvert, Mississippi Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Center, joining us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line, talking Hunter's Harvest and everything that they're doing to feed needy families in Mississippi. You're listening to 105.9 The Zone ESPN, and the show is brought to you by Mississippi Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Center. Thanks, Graham. We appreciate it. Love this organization and the fact that they are feeding families in need, and also the big concert at Dueling Hall. And thank you, Reed Nelson, for telling us that Graham and I looked nice together on the camera this morning. Yes, we are on YouTube. Search Out of Bounds Sports. YouTube, search Out of Bounds Sports. I want to go over real quick, Jason, my list from the big board of biggest stories in college football this year. I want to recap it, but I want to do a little bit more of a deep dive. I didn't have time in that 8-minute last segment. So, biggest, most interesting stories out of week 2 into week 3. College football. So, number 1 is Coach Prime and Deion Sanders at Colorado, flipping the roster and beating people, including 2 Power 5 teams, TCU and Nebraska. That Nebraska line was wild. Nebraska -9.
Yeah.
Flips to Colorado. I mean, how many times do you see that? That just doesn't happen. But what he has done, all right, he knows how to get talent. He knows how to get the chemistry right, and he knows how to motivate players. And give him credit, because I definitely questioned flipping 80 to 90% of your roster and getting it done. And we'll see what they do in 2 weeks at Oregon. Don't forget that. Colorado plays at Oregon in Eugene, the Oregon Ducks, in 2 weeks. All right. Number 2 biggest story of college football season. Saban and Bama taking a step back, and there's no doubt that they have. Now, some of you would say, Bo, what are you talking about? I mean, Nick Saban's awesome. He is awesome. He's the GOAT. He's the best ever. But Bama has taken a step back. They lost 2 games. It's their standards, their expectations, the bar that they have set. And Texas just whipped them in the second half of that game. And Texas hasn't had a big win in over a decade. And Steve Sarkisian, their coach, has never had a big win. His time at Washington, Southern Cal, and Texas. So Bama has taken a step back. What does that mean, Jason? Well, I think they could still win the West. Yeah. Obviously. LSU could win the West. I don't know from there. Still early. Auburn looked like crap at Cal Berkeley. Couldn't move the ball, looked terrible on offense. But Breeze and that offense they'll get better. And sometimes it takes a game like that, kind of like what Kiffin went through with Tulane. It takes a game like that for you to improve. We seem to think that you got to do the majority of your taking, the right steps forward in September. So it's like you're on the clock. Every team, you're on the clock. A&M, can you believe how many top 10, 20, and 30 recruits they have on their team, especially over 2 classes, and they can't win a game?
Insane.
All right, my number 3 biggest story is Texas winning a big game. Maybe the biggest brand in college football. And get ready, because people are going to be talking about the Texas Longhorns left and right. Because, hey, the media, just like me, we want the big brands to win, and Texas hasn't won. Let's go with another big brand at number 4. Number 4 biggest story after week 2, going into week 3. Florida State. I actually think Florida State's better than Texas. However, if Quinn Ewers wants to continue to play at this level, then maybe they're even, or maybe Texas has a slight edge. I'm going FSU with the slight edge right now. But Texas has the best trio of coordinators in the country. FSU comes in at number 4, winning a big game against LSU. Number 5, your Miami Hurricanes. They won a big game against A&M. And I know A&M isn't as good as they should be, but don't we want the U back?
Yeah.
Yeah, you need
college football does.
Yeah, you need some magic and mojo going on in the Miami market on the East Coast. And the U was such a big deal in the 80s and 90s. They lost their mojo after the 2001 national championship game, after Larry Coker made some bad hires, no commitment. Now they're committed. We'll see what Mario Cristobal can do. So that's my number 5. And number 6, A&M still losing with their elite talent. Those are my 6 biggest stories after week 2. Now, in-state, here's the biggest story. Ole Miss can't run the football right now. They may change that this weekend. And number 2 is Mississippi State hasn't put up any passing yards after that's all they did for 3 years. But guess what? They're both still 2-0, 4-0 combined. And that's what makes, again, your breakfast sandwich from Fleetway Market better. And your coffee, or your unsweet tea or sweet tea this morning, or Diet Coke, or whatever you sip on. You're still 2-0. I can't believe how many people complained about the Mississippi State game. I got to say this again, Jason. I know people are tired of it. Zach Arnett took Mike Leach's place, who's a Hall of Famer. Yeah. Zach Arnett has no head coaching experience. You got to let this guy develop some. That was a huge win Saturday night for him against Arizona. And look, they're the big-time underdog. Big-time underdog this weekend. Got to let it rip, throw it down the field, let the chips fall where they may. We'll be back in a second.